All right. So here's the thing. 1 year ago, I had a not so unique idea. Well, a couple of not so unique ideas. One was to run the New York City Marathon in 2022. The other was to somehow try and document this journey. I've done something like this before. Thought it was just time to do something again. I needed that sense of responsibility. But I also, because I had done something like this before, I felt like I was missing something, and I needed to fill that void again. And having both these ideas, it kind of stemmed from me being in like a rut. I didn't really know what to do with my days anymore. I was also coming back from being injured, and this thought was like this would be the proper motivation for me. But it is now December 2022, 6 weeks after the New York City Marathon. I have done neither of those ideas, falling quite short, actually.
Understand what I mean by recoil?
27 caliber, huh? 27 caliber, huh? Kick back.
I fell short because, one, I didn't get into the New York City Marathon. That's another story for another time. But the other thing is, I spend a lot of time waiting, thinking, and planning on things to do, but I spend almost zero time actually doing them. I have a tendency to wait until I think things are perfect in order to start these commitments. And because of one thing or another, nothing was perfect in the last, 395 days or so. But now I have been running. I'm training for nothing in particular, but possibly because it now isn't right or it isn't perfect. I'm forcing myself to start something. This is not perfect. Nothing about what I'm doing right now is perfect. But for me, right now, this is going to be something. I hope it's something bigger. But right now, it's just something for me to get out there, to maybe be a journal, a diary, maybe a therapy session. I don't know. But it's going to be this thing that I use to fill this void, because I know that if I don't start, I never will. So we can call this week one of whatever this is. But it's really been about 18 months or so since I've had a really good week of running. Now, when I say really good week of running, I don't think anything spectacular. And maybe this isn't a lot of miles for some people. Maybe this is too many. But I had my first 40-mile week about 6 weeks ago, and I've been doing it now for the last few weeks. But this is my first time. 6 weeks ago was my first time in about 18 months, a year and a half, that I've done anything like that. So I don't think it's right to talk about like these guys, what I ran in today, what I have been running in, what kind of workouts and what runs I have been doing. I think that's maybe something this evolves into. But I think to give you context, I don't want to talk about where I am or where I'm going. I want to talk about where I've been the last 2 years or so. How I literally got here in Webster, New York. Yeah, I'm in Webster, New York, just east of Buffalo, just north of central New York. But I want to give you more context as to where I've been.
Understand what I mean by recoil?
27 caliber, huh? 27 caliber, huh? Kick back.
If you want to, in 2020, where I'm gonna start all of this, I did do a 16 week video series about my training, and there's a lot of detail in there that will be fun for some of you. I'm gonna give you an abridged version of at least some of that, and hopefully we can break bread together discussing our COVID life and how hard and all the different things we were all able to do to get to where we are, to get through it. But that's where I want to start. I want to start in 2020. So January 2020, a lot of ignorance still around as to what was coming, but I wanted to do a thing, and so I signed up for a thing, and I had 10 months to get ready for this thing. And this thing, hopefully you've guessed it, was a marathon. And so I signed up for Corning's Wine Glass Marathon. And I've signed up for this race a couple of times. And this is the first time that I thought I was actually going to, I didn't think that I wasn't going to do it the other two times. But this one I had a really strong feeling that I was going to get to the starting line. And I thought this was going to be different. I thought I was 100% going to be in a starting line, and obviously we know that I couldn't have done that. But I had already begun gearing up for a half marathon, and it was because a lot of those years leading up to 2022, the last few years before that, a bunch of buddies of mine from college, we would sign up for a half marathon, and some of us more serious than others. We would go somewhere fairly close to all of us and just spend a weekend and then have it culminate as a half marathon and get together and whatnot. But we had signed up for one in Ithaca, New York. I think it was supposed to be in April of 2020. It was supposed to happen, and of course March comes around, and I've been training. I've been doing pretty well, but March comes around, everything shuts down. So this race is no longer. And all of us, obviously you, me, and everyone that we knew, we were bunkering up. But I continued to train. And I know a lot of people probably did. A lot of people continued to run because there wasn't a lot else to do. For me, my reason was I wanted to stay normal. I felt like running really kept me regular, kept me normal amongst a lot of questions and unease, and running every day just it made me feel structured. And so even though everything was far from it, and I knew that this race wasn't happening, but there was no other race that could replace it, but I kept it on my calendar, and I circled it, and I even put some permanent marker on it because I wanted to do something. I wanted to make sure that I would keep running and keep going, and if I felt like that this race or something was still there, it'd be a lot easier for me to continue on, not miss days, not flake out on myself. So April 2020 comes around, and it was around the day that the race should have been. It wasn't a great weather on that day. I remember waking up, and it was a Saturday or Sunday, and the weather wasn't great, and it was weird because obviously it wasn't a real race, but I tried to make it feel like it was a race. So I had my pre-race routine, and again, all was very weird. And I chose to do this run or this race on the Ridgewood Reservoir. So it was a 1.19 mile paved loop around a reservoir that there's water there, but I don't know what it's used for anymore. And so I, in the back of my head, and I knew this probably wasn't going to happen, but it was something that was like lingering. Was in 2011 was when I set my half marathon PR, and it wasn't anything phenomenal. It was 1 hour, 18 minutes and 38 seconds. I did it in Philadelphia for the Philadelphia half, and so I was thinking back to it because again, it wasn't a super fast time. I wasn't training great. I was pretty young, pretty blissfully ignorant to how I should be training. And so I thought like, hey, my training's been going well. Maybe I have a shot at this. Now, in Philadelphia, there was 9,387 more runners with me that day. We were all lined up. That day in April, on the Ridgewood Reservoir, on a starting line that wasn't really a starting line, but something I called the starting line. It was me and like 6 other people. 4 of them had strollers. 2 of them had probably been out since the night before. So I had 11-ish loops of me, pretty much by myself. With each loop, the wind picked up. The rain sprinkled a little bit harder. Never poured, but it sprinkled a little bit harder. But I kept going. Why not, right? Why not? I had nothing to lose. And so I just kept going. And that day, I finished. I clocked 13.12 or whatever it was, 1 hour, 18 minutes, 58 seconds. Now, not bad. 20 seconds off of PR, was barely a race. So now in my head, I'm 33 years old at that time, and my PR is from 12 years. 9 years prior. 9 years prior. So that's early to mid 20s to now my early to mid 30s, and I'm right there. So it felt really good. Really felt like I had my legs under me. Now remember, I've still signed up for this marathon, and that's supposed to happen in October, and nothing's been canceled for that yet. Everyone thinks that COVID's gonna clear up, but obviously we all know what happened. So now after this successful run, it's June 2020, and so I've been everyone, including obviously myself and everyone else, but I've been locked up, bunkered down, but I'm still running. I'm still training because this marathon hasn't officially been canceled. A lot of these fall ones, everyone thinks that something is going to happen. And so I have to make a decision, right? June 2020, I have to make a decision on, do I start running? Do I start really, really training for this race that may or may not happen? But you couldn't just hold off. You couldn't delay. So I said at that moment, just like I did with the half marathon, I took a permanent marker, and I took that day that the Corning Wineglass Marathon was supposed to be on. I put a big circle, and I said, I'm running a marathon on this day, regardless of if it's in Corning. Maybe it's going to be, double the amount of loops at the Ridgewood Reservoir, but I'm going to do something. So in 16 weeks, I'm going to run 26.2 miles, and I'm going to start training for it today.
Understand what I mean by recoil?
27 caliber, huh? 27 caliber, huh? Kick back.
So, as I mentioned, 16 weeks of training, I made 16 videos. Documented it all. I tried to change it up, and feel free to look into it. I thought it was a lot of fun. It really kept me entertained and occupied. But during that time, 3 weeks in, the marathon officially got canceled, which we all saw coming at that point. We all kind of figured that stuff was going to happen and everything. But I kept it going. I put my head down, and I was like, I'm running something. I'll figure out where. I'll figure out what's going to happen. And I tried to entertain myself, since there was no races whatsoever. I would do some time trials. I would do some small races with 2 other people that I would reach out to on Instagram. And I kept myself fun. It kept me entertained. It kept me very intrigued and occupied and wanting to keep running. It never got monotonous for me. I enjoyed every mile. Maybe not every mile, but I enjoyed almost every run that I did. I did another tune-up. I did another half tune-up, yes, on the Ridgewood Reservoir. It wasn't as fast, but it wasn't supposed to be. I think I clocked just over 1 hour and 20 minutes, starting at a not so fast pace and working my way down to a faster pace. And then probably around like week 10 of training, my in-laws had an idea. And there's this lake, Canadice Lake specifically, it was 8 miles around, which was great because it meant that I didn't need to do, 20 some odd loops of something, or didn't have to run in the middle of the street and whatnot for 26 miles. So it was an 8-mile loop. Half of it was on like a crushed gravel, dirt kind of thing. Not super fast, but not bad. I did do a small run on it to make sure the footing was good, and I was good with it. And then the other half was on the Shouldover Road, on a not so busy road. So I was like, this is it. Canadice Lake Marathon. That's the first one ever, and I'm gonna be it. And so October 3rd, I believe, was the date that I chose. That it was the date that I think Corning was supposed to be on. I lined up. I set myself for a 9 a.m. start time. I made sure to do everything to hype up myself. I hyped up myself to make sure that I was gonna do this thing. And I lined up, and to my surprise, I had a small cheer squad show up all the way from New York City, drove up to Canadice Lake. Not an easy drive, but they all came up, about 7 or so of them. They lined up, and I ran it really well. I had a PR of 2 hours and 55 minutes and 58 seconds. I'm pretty sure that's the time. Maybe it was 2 hours and 54 minutes or so. But regardless, it was right around that time, and I had run that in 2012. So that also a long time since I had PR. But on this day, by myself, with a small cheer squad, 2 water stops that my wife and her mom controlled. I ran 2 hours, 49 minutes, and 4 seconds. So 6:27 pace, 6-minute PR, first place.
Understand what I mean by recoil?
27 caliber, huh? 27 caliber, huh? Kick back.
Now, I was on such a high, right? I ran a good half marathon that really kickstarted this. I had some close, fun 5Ks that I thought was going to go faster than they were, but didn't actually run that fast. But they were fun. I had some mile time trials that I was like pretty pumped about. But for the rest of 2020, after this marathon, I ran. Believe me, I ran. I had fun. I did some stuff, but I was really just like riding high off of this, and I thought that all of this. All this training, all this foundation was really good to go into 2021. Because 2021, I felt that like races were going to come back, right? Things were starting to come up, and even though it wasn't great and COVID still really hit hard, 2021 started to see some small races come back, and that was fun for me because now I was good, man. I was in really, really good shape. I felt really good. So my A race, which I want to do, which I had signed up for, I forget when, but it was a May half marathon that I signed up for. So that was what I was going for. And in my head, I was like, I'm definitely going to take down my half marathon PR. 100%, no questions. I was going to go for it. But in the midst of it, let's talk about something that it's been on my back for a long time, and it stemmed all the way from high school. So these in high school. I mean, in my head, in high school, running sub 17 minutes, having anything that starts with 16 minutes, that was world class. You're world class. You Hall of Fame, should go pro as a runner type times. That's what I thought. In my head, that's what I thought. And we were only running 5Ks in cross country, and kids were running 16 something, some 15 something, but that was something I wanted, and I never ever got. In high school, I got close. I think I ran 17, 18 on a course, and then in college I never really ran 5Ks. I did sprinting, and then I kind of left running for a bit. And when I came back, I think I've started to focus too much on longer stuff that my wheels were never there. And then again in like 2018, I started to think about running fast 5Ks again, and I think I may have like gotten close. I think maybe I got close to like 17, 18 one time. I think I 17:10. In 2014, I know that I would have broken it if a course official would have directed me the right way. I went wrong for a few seconds, but I ran 17:06, and I really think I would have broken 17 that day, but I didn't. So didn't do it in 2014, didn't do it in 2018, and then like I mentioned, in 2020, I did some time trials and I did a couple of races, but the one small race I ran on the track, the heat got to me, was in July, and I ran 17:24. And then on a solo time trial, I tried to go on my own and fell apart the last mile, ran 17:16. So I made it my mission that in the midst of training for this half in May, I was going to go and break my 5K PR and finally break 17. Now, I wasn't running marathon miles anymore, which I think is the main reason I couldn't do it in 2020, is because my legs were so tired. But April 2021, a bunch of friends of mine who ran for the Brooklyn Track Club, they put on a race, they put on a race with a few other people, and I lined up. It was April. It was a great day. It rained the day before. Weather was great. Lined up, 16 minutes, 22 seconds. 40-second PR. Albatross, cut it right off my neck. Felt really good. Now, everything was just, turn up me, right? Everything was sunny side up. And my focus shifted immediately to not so much, oh man, what a great race, but how fast am I going to run this half? Because I'm going to break my PR. How fast can I go? And I can't really tell you what I was doing because I was training myself, and none of it was perfect. The only perfect thing about it was that every race I was running, every key race I was running, I was PRing. Now I'd PR'd in the 5K I just did, PR'd in the marathon, got really close to my PR in the half, and all of this was just like, it was perfect. And even though I second guessed everything I was doing, I didn't know if the right workouts were there. I didn't know what I was doing 100%. But when all of my races, all of my workouts, they were just going off so well, it was hard to argue with any of what I'm doing. So again, put my head down for another month and kept going. So there was a race right across from Terrytown. I don't actually know the name of the town, but it was Rockland Lake. And this was about a 3+ mile course. And it was about 4-ish loops, you can do the math. But I lined up, and it was rainy again. But I'd been doing well in rainy days. And I lined up knowing that there probably wasn't going to be anyone who wanted to run as fast as I did. But because the loop was small, because there were people out there, because I don't know, I've been doing so well by myself, I wasn't too focused on competition, more so PR. Need to PR. And so 7 a.m. start time, lined up, 4+ 3-mile loops. Again, had a small cheering section show up that I'm very grateful for, all of my friends showing up. And when I hit the finish line, 1 hour, 16 minutes, 13 seconds. 2+ minute PR, gold medal, first place, had a great IHOP breakfast. So now we're in July. And so I've hit all my races. But now there are races open, right? And so a small thing, even though in me it's official, small thing was my marathon PR now, the 2:49, the one that I ran at the inaugural Canada Ice Lake Marathon. It was unofficial, so my head immediately shifted to trying to figure out if I can do this in an official race. If I can run this time, which I'm pretty sure I could, but if I can run this time in an actual race. And so because I had done a full, 2 training cycles, 3 maybe, I wanted to give myself a break and rest up. And I had some, Achilles issues that have been holding up, and they never caused me more than a day or like once a month, that to take off or to take a break. So I gave myself a few weeks of no running, and I wanted to get fresh. But something I learned specifically about my Achilles, specifically about some other stuff too, but more so about my Achilles is I had been running for pretty much 18 months straight. And it felt like, and I don't have any science to back this, but I felt like I was in a constant state of motion for so long that my body was like, okay. We'll do this. And we have a consistent feeling. We have this thing you're doing, and we'll ride with you. And when I stopped in these 2-3 weeks that I had stopped, my body stopped, and all of a sudden it was like, oh, now we feel it. Now we're feeling all these things, all of these teetering of the edge type injuries that I was going through, really, really combusted. All these lingering things kind of really, really became exaggerated now that I wasn't running as much, and so I had started to pick it up, a small 25-30 mile a weeks, like no workouts, and to be honest, it just nothing felt that great. And so about week 7, maybe week 8 of this small ramp up to maybe try to do something bigger in that fall, everything blew up. I couldn't run. My Achilles on my left side completely blew up. My right side felt terrible. My calves felt terrible. My hips felt terrible. So that day in July of 2021, I unfortunately had to start 100 days of no running. So this brings us to November of 2021, and we're getting it. We're almost full circle here. So November 2021, I had started to pick up running again, and it felt okay. I was biking too. I was doing some other stuff, trying to make sure that I didn't have any setbacks. But that was the time. That was a day in November, probably right around the marathon. I told myself I'm going to run the New York City Marathon in 2022, and I'm going to document how I do it. I'd done so well in my 2020 video series that I wanted to do it again, and I really felt like it was just going to come. It was just going to be easy. I had this grand vision, and it was just going to happen. It was just all it was going to happen. and it never got legs. It was one thing or another. I had stuff come up, work started up again, and timing wasn't always great, and so like it never really happened. Now, with these setbacks though, I can't say that it was a full on fail of a year. I moved, as I mentioned, to now upstate or western New York. I'm in Webster, right outside of Rochester. Went to Italy, went to a couple of weddings. So I had a good time. I wouldn't regret this year. But it was a down year in terms of training, in terms of running, in terms of what I thought it was going to be. So now it's December, December 12th, and I'm 8 weeks, probably 2 months into 40-mile a week running. And I have some stuff to do now. Like I want to do some things. I think I'm finally at a spot where I'm not gonna hopefully have the major setbacks that the 2021 gave me. So that's why I'm starting this. And so I don't have a proper direction yet. I don't know where it's going. I have ideas, which will probably come and we'll talk about. I have a lot of stuff that I want to do, but I won't be able to do them unless I start. So this is my start. And I promise that there'll be more to this. And if it's not more in the sense of what we're doing here, me talking to you, I'm fine with that. If no one watches this but me, I'm fine with that. But I think there's going to be more. And, well, that's the thing for today.